I need you to listen very carefully, because what I'm about to tell you is something I wish every pregnant woman knew before it ever became a concern. In over 15 years of medical practice, I've noticed a silent pattern. One simple mistake that doesn't look dangerous at first, but over time, it creates complications that most mothers never connect back to their daily habits. And here's the part that concerns me most. Almost every patient who experienced it had no idea they were doing anything wrong. They thought everything was normal until it wasn't. Do not skip this. This may change how you experience your entire pregnancy. If you are pregnant right now, consider this your early warning. You might already be doing this without any symptoms showing yet, and that's exactly what makes it dangerous. Because the real question is not if this mistake happens, it's what it actually is, and why almost no one talks about it. Let me clarify something important right away. Most pregnancies don't become complicated because of sudden, dramatic events. In reality, it's usually the small, repeated habits that seem harmless at first, but gradually influence how the body responds over time. And that's exactly why so many mothers never see it coming. It's not obvious danger. It's not something you feel immediately. It's the accumulation of overlooked behaviors that feel completely normal in the moment. This is where most mothers unknowingly go wrong and never realize it until much later. Listen closely because this part is rarely explained in routine checkups. In fact, your doctor may never explicitly warn you about this specific pattern. And that's not because it isn't important, but because it's easy to miss unless you know what to look for. So, as I explain this, I want you to do something simple. Don't think of this as general advice. Think of it as something that may already be happening in your own daily routine, without you noticing it. Revealing the silent mistake. Now let me explain the silent mistake that I see far too often in practice. The silent mistake is this. Many pregnant women ignore the earliest signals their body is giving them, assuming everything is normal simply because there is no pain. It often starts in very subtle ways. Fatigue is dismissed as just pregnancy. Mild discomfort is ignored because it comes and goes. Emotional changes are brushed off as stress or hormones that will pass on their own. But what most people don't realize is this. Your body rarely becomes silent when something is wrong. Instead, it becomes subtle. This is where things quietly start to shift, without most women noticing. Your body speaks before problems ever become visible. And if you learn to recognize those signals early, you gain a huge advantage in protecting your health. Don't ignore this part. It matters more than it seems in the moment. Because once you understand what these signals actually mean, everything about how you experience pregnancy begins to change. What is happening inside the body? To understand why this mistake matters, you first need to understand what's actually happening inside the body during pregnancy. During this time, your body is constantly communicating through subtle signals, driven by hormonal changes, shifts in circulation, and increasing nutrient demands. Let's break that down in a simple way. Hormonal shifts can influence your mood, sleep, and overall energy levels. Circulation changes affect how oxygen and nutrients are delivered throughout the body. An increased nutrient demand means your body is working harder every single day, even when you feel like you're resting. What feels like small discomforts are often your body adjusting to internal changes that require attention, not dismissal. Think of your body like a warning system that is constantly active. These are signals, not random feelings or things to ignore. When you learn to interpret them correctly, you gain control over problems before they escalate. And this is exactly where prevention begins. Not after symptoms become severe, but when they are still subtle. But here's the real issue. Even when the body is communicating clearly, most women still miss what it's trying to say. And there's a specific reason for that. Why most mothers miss it. Now, if the body is giving these signals, the next logical question is, why do so many mothers miss them? And the answer is not carelessness, it's psychology and environment. Core explanation, clear breakdown. The first reason is normalization of discomfort. Many women begin to assume that feeling tired, emotional, or physically uncomfortable is simply part of pregnancy. So instead of questioning it, they accept it. The second reason is social pressure. You'll often hear phrases like, pregnancy is supposed to be hard, or every mother goes through this. Over time, that message becomes internalized. And the third reason is misinformation, especially online content that generalizes symptoms without context, making it harder to distinguish what is normal and what deserves attention. Key medical insight, anchor message. The biggest issue is normalization of symptoms that should never be ignored. Let me be very honest with you. This is more common than most people realize. You may have already normalized the warning signs without even knowing it. And that's exactly why this pattern repeats across so many pregnancies. Not because mothers aren't paying attention, but because the signals slowly become normal. And once something becomes normal in your mind, you stop questioning it entirely. That's exactly where the real problem begins. And I want to show you a real case that illustrates this clearly. Let me share something from my own clinical experience. I remember a patient who truly believed everything she was feeling was just part of pregnancy. She was constantly exhausted, she experienced frequent dizziness, and she often felt physically uncomfortable throughout the day. Build emotional realism, no drama, just truth. But what stood out was not the symptoms themselves. It was the fact that she never brought them up. She assumed it was normal. She assumed it would pass. And because there was no severe pain, she stayed silent. Outcome reveal, careful, non-alarmist, but serious. By the time she finally came in for evaluation, her body had already been under prolonged strain. We had to intervene later than ideal, and although the outcome was managed safely, her recovery was significantly more stressful than it needed to be. This story is more common than you might think. I've seen variations of this situation far too many times in clinic. And each time, the pattern is almost identical. Symptoms are present, but ignored because they seem normal. This is exactly what I want you to avoid. Because the most important question is not whether symptoms appear. It's whether you recognize them early enough to respond appropriately. What should be done instead? Now that you understand the mistake and how easily it can happen, the next step is even more important. What should you actually do instead? Simple, actionable guidance, no overwhelm. First, start tracking your body's daily signals. This doesn't need to be complicated. It can be as simple as noticing patterns in your energy levels, sleep quality, appetite, and overall comfort. Second, do not ignore persistent fatigue. One day of tiredness is normal, but when exhaustion becomes consistent and unexplained, that is your body asking for attention. Third, communicate changes early. Even small changes that seem insignificant are worth mentioning during checkups. It is always better to report something early than to explain it later when it has progressed. Core medical principle, anchor message, your job is not to guess, it is to observe and report. Do not wait until it becomes serious before you take it seriously. Early action is always safer than delayed correction. This is what responsible pregnancy awareness actually looks like. Not fear, but attention and consistency. Small awareness today can prevent major complications later. And once you start paying attention in this way, you realize something important. Your body has not been working against you. It has been communicating with you all along. Simple self-checklist. Now I want you to pause for a moment and do something very simple with me. Let's go through a quick self-checklist together, and I want you to be honest with yourself here. Checklist. Clear, easy to follow. First question, am I more tired than usual, even after rest? Second, have I been ignoring small discomforts because I assumed they are normal? Third, have I stopped paying attention to changes in my body simply because I got used to them? Reflection reinforcement. Slow emphasis. These are not medical tests. They are awareness questions. And sometimes the most important insights come from simple honesty, not complexity. Check this with me right now, one by one. Be honest with yourself here. No overthinking. If you relate to even one of these, pay attention because it matters more than it seems. This is where awareness actually begins. Not in hospitals, but in daily self-observation. And if you recognized yourself in any of these points, it doesn't mean something is wrong. It simply means it's time to become more aware of what your body is already trying to tell you. Reassurance. Plus. Urgency balance. Before we continue, I want to take a moment to reassure you. This is not about creating fear, and it is certainly not about making you worry unnecessarily. This is about awareness, pure and simple. Balanced medical perspective, calm authority. Because when you understand what your body is communicating, You don't panic, you respond appropriately. And that response, even in small moments, can make a meaningful difference over time. Subtle urgency reinforcement, controlled, not alarming. But I also want to be clear about something important. Awareness is what prevents complications from being missed or delayed. Not fear, not overthinking, just awareness. You are not alone in this. Many mothers only learn this later than they should. This is exactly why education during pregnancy matters so much. Small awareness changes everything when it is applied consistently. And what you are learning right now puts you ahead of many who never received this explanation. So take a breath. And remember, your goal is not perfection. Your goal is understanding your body well enough to respond when it speaks to you. If you take anything from this entire discussion, let it be this: your body is always communicating with you. The question is never whether it speaks, it's whether we are paying attention to what it is saying. Reflective reinforcement, soft landing, trust building. Pregnancy is not about fear or constant concern. It is about understanding signals early enough to respond calmly and correctly. And the more aware you become, the more confident you feel in your own body's changes. Tell me in the comments, did you recognize any of these signs in your own experience or someone you know? Which part of this surprised you the most? Was there anything here you had never heard explained in this way before? And should I make a follow-up video explaining early warning signs in more detail? I'd also genuinely like your feedback on these direct engagement phrases. Did they make the message feel more clear and connected? Or do you think they should be improved to feel even more natural and emotionally impactful? Stay aware, stay informed, and most importantly, listen to your body. It is speaking to you every single day. If you found this video helpful, please share it with your friends and family and leave a comment to tell me what you learned. Your support goes a long way in spreading the message and growing this community. Thank you, and see you soon.